Welcome back to our conversation with Governor Charlie Baker. Governor, if heaven forbid the situation with COVID in the state should worsen, would you consider restoring the remote learning option?
So I think everybody would agree that last year for kids here in the Commonwealth, except in very limited circumstances, was a big disappointment on almost every level. And when it came to the education, socialization, development, the works. And I was glad that we were able to get all the kids back in school with very few exceptions, starting in April of this year. And I think in many ways, there are plenty of resources and tons of guidance and experience at this point. And again, good data available for people that shows that if schools follow the rules and the policies that have been used not just here by many schools over the past 18 months, but in other countries and in other places, you can have schools operate safely, even if you're in a situation where you have a significant increase in cases. And the other thing I'd say there, John, is we're still vaccinating people on a pretty regular basis. And I think at some point in the next few weeks, we're probably going to go over 5 million people in Massachusetts who are fully vaccinated. So it's hard for me to imagine a scenario where we won't continue to expect kids to be in school. They need to be in school.
Okay, you mentioned the vaccinations that are continuing. There was a study published last month in the Journal of the American Medical Association that found no evidence that a lottery-based incentive in Ohio was associated with increased rates of adult vaccinations. In fact, it found that the rate of decline in vaccinations was faster in Ohio than in the rest of the U.S. You launched the $6.5 million Vax Millions giveaway program in mid-June before that study came out. In hindsight, was that wasted money?
Well, somewhere in the vicinity of 420,000 people got vaccinated at least once, and 300,000 people got fully vaccinated since we started that program. And we actually did see a flattening out of the drop that we had seen heading up to the time we implemented this program. And then I can't remember if it was for first or second doses, a decent increase even before people started worrying about the Delta variant, which absolutely had a positive impact on vaccination rates. So I happen to think overall it was a positive development in terms of continuing to get people to focus on getting vaccinated.
Worth the money?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. One more COVID thing, and then I want to reserve time to talk a little bit about our federal funding here. Do you have a personal message you'd like to use this opportunity to convey to people who are angry about mask and vaccine mandates, and also to the unvaccinated in Massachusetts?
Look, I guess the first thing I would say is that we now have almost a year's worth of experience with vaccines, and the 10 states with the highest vaccination rates have the lowest case counts per capita, the lowest hospitalizations per capita, the lowest ICU counts per capita, and the lowest death rates. And the 10 states with the lowest vaccination rates have the highest case counts, the highest hospitalization rates, the highest ICU counts, and the highest death rates per capita. It's pretty clear at this point, 400 million shots plus into this in the US, that the vaccines do make an enormous positive difference with respect to the health and safety of our Commonwealth and our communities generally. And I would urge people to simply refer to that when they think about whether they want to get vaccinated or not. And I don't have a problem with businesses or other organizations that want to factor the vaccine question into how they keep their employees and their customers safe. That is a perfectly acceptable thing for employers to do. And with respect to the mask stuff, I would sort of say the same, which is most of the guidance at this point is driven more toward those who are unvaccinated or people who have serious immunocompromised positions. Those are circumstances and situations in which we should be doing everything we can to try to keep people safe.
All right, I'm running short on time, but I want to squeeze this in here. We've got nearly $3 billion to spend in federal funds from the American Rescue Plan that was passed last spring, another couple billion to come. Back in June, you proposed spending $2 billion on housing and infrastructure needs that no one disputes are urgent, but the legislature put on the brakes. They're still planning more hearings on the spending later on this summer. What's the holdup, and when can we expect to see progress on this?
I certainly hope we see progress on it sometime this fall. My view continues to be what it was when we first made this proposal back in June. We felt a lot of this stuff couldn't wait. I especially view that with respect to the housing piece and the environmental infrastructure piece. Just think about all the flooding we've seen since June. I mean, it's happened all over the Commonwealth. And every time that happens, businesses lose customers. In many cases, they have to pay to repair their facilities and their operations. And this is not going away. We're going to be dealing with, more storms and storm severity. And we really need to get real about this stuff. And I would obviously like to see the legislature move quickly on this. It's disappointing to me that none of this may start until sometime next year. I think that's a missed opportunity.